I think faith has absolutely nothing to do with the job. I think that even nationality have nothing to do with the job.
I don't know how many people actually see this as an urgency.
I just feel like there's a crisis of democracy.
I am a social guy. I like helping people.
I'm running to be the voice for my district.
I love our community, and I love the American dream.
It is great that somebody who's from another country, somebody who didn't learn English until he was 14, might be my representative.
Tonight was my first council meeting. I can't miss my first council meeting.
I wish it just didn't come down to these identity things.
And we're having a conversation nationally about religion, about race.
There are also some people think having a Muslim will hurt the party.
There's a lot of communities in this country that are critically important where Muslims are well over 1%. Michigan, Virginia, Minnesota, California, New York. There's a lot of places in this country where the Muslim vote is crucial.
There are 2 Muslim Americans serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison and Indiana Congressman Andre Carson. Both are American-born converts to the religion. To date, no Muslim American immigrant has held national political office in the United States. That in spite of the fact that Islam is one of the fastest growing religions on the planet. In the current U.S. Congress, only 1%, that's 6 members, are immigrants. That's among the lowest percent of immigrants serving in Congress in our nation's history, despite an increase in migration here. In this election year, a number of Muslim Americans are working to reverse that trend by seeking office at the local, state, and national level in many different parts of the United States. If all politics is local, as one U.S. lawmaker once famously said, then the Illinois General Assembly's 40th district on Chicago's northwest side is about as local as you can get. It's one of the most ethnically diverse in the state, and is the place Paul Sack calls home, even if he isn't that excited about the way he sees politics working locally.
Supposedly we have thousands of politicians representing us at the city and county and state level and other districts, but really there's only a few guys that are in charge.
But Sack hopes times are changing after learning about a new candidate running for the local seat in the General Assembly. A Muslim American immigrant who has never before held public office. Harish Patel bills himself as an independent Democrat, someone who isn't beholden to the state party.
My state has not respected or responded to the needs of my community. So in this district, I just feel like there's a crisis of democracy.
When Patel came to the U.S. from India in 1999 with his widowed mother, he says he didn't speak any English.
And state assembly, what we do is we make laws for the state of Illinois.
But thanks to public programs, he got an education and a college degree. Now he wants to give back.
All of this is possible because of the investment that the community has made in me. And now it's sort of my time to figure out how to keep those programs so when other people are coming to this neighborhood, other people that live in this neighborhood, that built this neighborhood, have the same access that I got.
Patel knows if he is successful in the primary election, he'd likely win the general election in November, since there is no Republican challenger. That means Patel could make history as the first Muslim American immigrant elected to the Illinois General Assembly. Which is why Paul Sack is doing more than just voting for Patel. He's now working for his campaign.
It is great that somebody who's from another country, somebody who didn't learn English until he was 14, is might be my representative.
The Pew Research Center estimates that 3.3 million Muslims live in the U.S., about 1% of the population. While their numbers are expected to double by mid-century, at present that's still tiny, just edging out Buddhists and Hindus. Yet in the rhetoric of this election cycle,
their presence is outsized, and not, for the most part, in a good way. The demonization of Muslims by some in the presidential campaign has spurred some Muslim Americans to make sure their voices are heard.
That's the kind of stuff that trickles down, and that's the kind of stuff that creates anxiety for communities and allows for fear-mongering to take place. So I'm saying no to that. And I'm not only going to say no to that, I'm going to tell my own story, and I'm going to hopefully let other community members tell their own stories of what it really means to be an American Muslim.
The reason you're there is to talk to voters as they go into the polling place.
Primary election day in the city of Chicago will show whether months of telephone calls, handshakes, and meetings will pay off for Illinois General Assembly candidate Harish Patel. But there is one final campaign stop for him outside a very busy polling location where hundreds of last-minute voters are casting ballots inside an automobile dealership. Patel's campaign worker Paul Sack is upbeat.
The polls have been really close. A lot of people are very excited about him.
What we were seeing today is a lot of folks were gravitating towards him.
Chicago Alderman John Arena represents parts of the 40th District where Patel is hoping to defeat his Democratic primary challenger, incumbent Jamie Andrade.
I think we are looking for the next generation of leadership in Chicago, and I'm really proud that we're having a very vibrant conversation and that somebody like Harish is in the race and part of that conversation.
Even so, Arena admits he chose to endorse Patel's primary opponent.
I think Harish came across as maybe experience would be an issue in terms of how he would come into Springfield.
Arena says for him, Patel's religious faith had nothing to do with the decision to endorse Andrade.
We're never going to be a monolithic country that's one color, one religion. We were never designed that way.
Hard won in this country.
A crowd of Patel's supporters gathered at a local Irish pub to wait out the election, which had record voter turnout. But as the numbers trickled in, the results proved less promising than Harish Patel and his dedicated campaign staff had hoped for.
Harish did call Jamie and conceded.
Patel lost to incumbent Jamie Andrade by 20 percentage points.
Thank you so much.
With his hopes of being the first elected Muslim American immigrant lawmaker in Illinois state government now on hold,
I'm feeling a lot of emotions.
Patel vowed to his supporters that this election loss wasn't the end, but rather the beginning of his quest to change the way politics works locally.
And I think the world and the state and the nation, the way it is, needs a lot more crazy idealism.
It looks like a little United Nations.
Mohammed Khan came to Des Moines in the 1970s from India, and the large gathering he's a part of today is very different from the group he prayed with back then.
Our community is more diversified now.
And growing. The U.S. Census shows the number of Iowans born abroad tripled between 1990 and 2013, and it's estimated they make up about 6% of the population today.
I think about 95% are probably immigrants here, yes. They're either refugees or just immigrants in some other capacity.
Khan says about 3/4 of those at his mosque, one of 6 in the larger Des Moines area, are U.S. citizens eligible to vote.
Monday is the caucus day.
Getting them to do so is the challenge.
But make sure that you get involved.
It's very difficult to get people to register or to even to vote because many people come from war-torn countries where they suffer consequences for supporting one candidate or the other, so they're very scared.
They come from a different culture.
Tahir Ali with the American Muslim Alliance says this is a primary reason why many Muslim American immigrants who gained their U.S. citizenship and are eligible to vote skip the ballot on Election Day.
From countries that they come from, the process may not that be clean. It may be corrupt and may be rigged also.
They're still trying to settle down, dig their roots, take care of the family, raise their children.
Sarwat Hussein is the founding president of the San Antonio, Texas chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, and is also one of the founders of the American Muslim Democratic Caucus, a grassroots political organization. The AMDC formed in the years after 9/11, in part to respond to the hate and bigotry directed at the Islamic community, and encourage more Muslim Americans to engage in the political process in the United States.
The fear factor was so high then, people were discouraging us.
The AMDC started with one chapter in Texas in 2004, and Hussein says today there are 79. Based on the attendance at a packed luncheon the AMDC sponsored for delegates during the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, she believes that number will soon grow.
So in 4 years, we are all over the nation.
Oh, say, can you see?
The ultimate goal, says Hussein, is to have more Muslim Americans seek political office and win. Hussein hopes that somewhere in one of those new chapters is the next Muslim American lawmaker, someone perhaps like Noman Kanani.
Now that you're starting to see more second-generation Muslims who are born in this country, that have grown up in this country, you're starting to see them get a little bit more involved. But a lot of them are still around my age, in their mid-20s, early 30s, so it's still really too early to tell. But I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to start to see more and more of them involved.
Kanani admits it is a challenge to get immigrant parents to emphasize the importance of voting and being involved in politics.
I don't know how many people actually see this as an urgency. A lot of immigrant parents tend to push their children towards the sciences, engineering, rather than politics.
Sarwat Hussein says there is also another issue in the way.
There are also some people think having a Muslim will hurt the party.
On Greg Leduc's walk into his polling location at Greenspun Junior High School, he still had a decision to make. Who was he going to vote for in Nevada's 3rd District Democratic Congressional primary election?
I didn't really know a lot about either candidate.
But a chance encounter with candidate Jesse Spey, who was walking out of the polling location after having cast his own ballot.
What's the first thing you're going to do if you get elected?
Helped Leduc make up his mind.
He's walking out with his family, and I just got a good feeling from seeing him.
Leduc said he voted for Spey, despite knowing little about the candidate or his positions. It was the personal connection he had with him right before voting that helped seal the deal.
It was just one of those happy accidents.
Thank you. Very pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
First-time candidates like Spey face many obstacles getting elected, including the need to build name recognition, a network of supporters, and raise money. To make that process easier, Spey says he asked to meet with U.S. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, the leading Democrat in Nevada, to seek his endorsement.
And talk to him about the issues facing our community.
But instead of talking about policy, Spey says the conversation quickly turned to his religion.
He said, let me be blunt with you. You cannot win this race because you're a Muslim.
Reid's office did not respond to VOA's request for comment, but denied to other media organizations having ever said such a thing.
You here to vote?
If elected, Spey would be the first Arab-American Muslim immigrant serving in the U.S. Congress.
Hi, how are you? Jesse Spey. Nice pleasure to meet you.
He came to the U.S. from Jordan with his parents when he was 11.
And upon arrival, I didn't speak in English, so I had to carry a dictionary around with me and to be able to communicate with my friends, teachers, just about everyone I met.
Spey soon grasped the language, became a citizen, and worked his way into law school, then as a clerk for the Nevada Supreme Court, and eventually into his own law firm in Henderson, Nevada, a suburb of Las Vegas, where he currently works as a personal injury lawyer. His decision to run for Congress, he says, springs from the opportunity he and his family found here.
And I feel that those opportunities that allowed me to succeed and achieve the American dream are quickly slipping away from far too many Americans.
Spey says the disputed encounter with Reid last August was the first time in his life he felt marginalized because of his religion. He made his account of the meeting public earlier this year.
What happened during that meeting had to be told to the voters so they know what's going on in these elections.
Let's put it this way. I think his religion probably did have something to do with whether or not Harry Reid did choose to make him the anointed one.
When 33-year-old Angie Morelli was serving as a U.S. Marine in Afghanistan several years ago, she would have never guessed that she would be serving as the campaign manager for a Democratic candidate like Jessie Spey.
There's a lot of reports of people who are going to vote. I am a U.S. Marine. I got out and I opened a small business, and these are kind of all the demographics that you see out of like a Republican.
But this election cycle, Morelli is a Democrat. What ultimately led her to Spey's campaign is her passionate support of presidential candidate Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, whom Jessie Spey endorsed early in the race for the Democratic nomination.
I am a secular Jew. I'm like Bernie.
But Morelli says the interfaith dynamic between her and Spey wasn't something that voters or even fellow campaign workers were aware of.
It just occurred to me that like a Jew is running Jessie's campaign right now, and we kind of just laughed about it and moved on, and that was the only time it even really came up. Because again, these are not things that we should be talking about. We should be talking about like the issues, the platform.
One of those issues was how best to respond to the unfolding Islamic State-inspired terror attacks around the world.
I don't want for there to be any possible way anyone can take these comments and twist them.
Spey struggled with how to respond.
Jessie was tiptoeing around what his reaction of that should be. I was kind of tiptoeing around it too, because we needed to make sure that it was going to be completely appropriate. There was so much pressure on us to do the appropriate thing with him being a Muslim, where he couldn't just react to it as a human.
But on Election Day, neither Spey's faith nor his response to terror attacks were in the way of gaining Greg LeDuc's vote.
Now, I really, really hope he wins.
But as the ballots were counted, few voters seemed to share LeDuc's optimism.
What the hell?
As Spey's campaign staff and supporters watched the election results trickle in, it soon became clear that Spey's campaign was coming to an end. First-time candidate Jackie Rosen, a Jewish-American businesswoman, won a decisive victory over Spey and the other 4 candidates in the race. Spey, who used much of his own money to fund his campaign, attributed Rosen's success to the support of Senator Harry Reid and the Nevada Democratic Party, support Spey was not able to secure for himself. As Spey begins the final analysis of his campaign, he says he isn't sure how much of a factor the issue of his religion, or that of his opponent, was for voters in his failed bid for the congressional seat.
I think you'll have a very hard time getting people to admit this, that they did not vote for me or someone else because of their religion or ethnic background. If that's the case, it's very unfortunate, and it's not the America that I hope we are.
I wish instead of us talking about the fact that Jessie was Muslim, we were talking about the actual issues.
I am a social guy. I like helping people. I like helping my community, my city.
The moment he became an American citizen in December of 2012 was a high point in Yemen-born Saad al-Masmari's life. A close second was the night he received the most votes in the race for Hamtramck's city council.
Just dip it here.
Al-Masmari was among 3 Muslim American candidates on the ballot in that election in November 2015. All 3 received the most votes in a town that has one of the largest percentages of foreign-born citizens in Michigan.
Hamtramck has the largest single concentration of Muslims in one city. So this is the city that has distinguished itself, among others, that the majority of the people on the city council are Muslims.
Osama Siblani is the publisher of the Arab American News, which put al-Masmari's win on the front page. But the election soon made bigger news because of its timing.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
Republican candidate Donald Trump's call to ban Muslims from coming to America angered many in Hamtramck.
We are about 27% of the population in Hamtramck, Yemenis, and we have about 22% Bengalis. We have 11% Bosnians. They're all Muslims.
Hamtramck is a case study in changing demographics spurred by recent immigration. For more than a century, this Detroit suburb was home to many Polish Catholic immigrants and their descendants. The town prospered when the auto industry flourished, but its fortunes and ethnic makeup dramatically changed in the last several decades as the big three automakers shed jobs and closed factories. Auto workers and money flowed out of the town, and with it went the town's traditional identity. It has shifted from a town of Polish Catholic auto workers to Muslim American shop owners and small businesses.
We're used to the influx of new immigrants and the changes that brings to a city. You know, this is what we do, and this is who we are. So yeah, it's actually been quite surprising, especially all this national and international attention.
Yet when Al-Masmari attended his first city council meeting in January, VOA was one of only 2 media organizations present to document the moment. It was a meeting Al-Masmari was not going to miss, despite an invitation to attend President Barack Obama's State of the Union address, which happened to fall on the same night.
But I refused to take it because tonight was my first council meeting. I can't miss my first council meeting because I was elected to serve this community.
Al-Masmari says he's fielded over 75 interview requests, which keep coming in.
One of the newspaper asked me if you were able to meet Mr. Trump, would you? I said, I have no issue. I have no problem to meet with him. And then 3 days later, I received an email from his campaign asking if you have time, 15 to 20 minutes to meet with Mr. Trump.
Al-Masmari says he's been too busy to follow up on the invitation. But if he does meet Trump, he wouldn't talk about his faith.
I am proud that I'm Muslim. But of course, I'm not going to put my religion into my work as a consul. In the consul, I am American before I am a Muslim.
Instead, Al-Masmari says he would ask Trump about helping Hamtramck, which is financially hurting and has one of the highest poverty rates in the state of Michigan.
That was the first issue, and it's still the first issue. We're going to work hard on it to fix it.
Former Vice President and U.S. Ambassador Walter Mondale has lived long enough to be an eyewitness to a lot of change in his home state of Minnesota.
When I was a young man in politics, running for office involved Scandinavians, Germans, Europeans, and now it's, if you go downtown Minneapolis or downtown St. Paul, you see a huge change in ethnic makeup of those communities in our state.
Today, Minnesota is home to 25,000 Somali Americans. Most of them are refugees, living in and around the city of Minneapolis, home to a vibrant neighborhood now known locally as Little Mogadishu. But while this new wave of immigration is changing the scenery on the streets of Minnesota, Mondale says the transformation in state politics has been slower.
Immigrants are learning their way here. Well, they're becoming more comfortable with our society, with the laws, how it works out. A lot of these new immigrants have had no experience with democracy. They're not sure of how it works or whether it's real.
But one Minneapolis woman is making it real for many Somali Americans.
As someone who chooses to wear a headscarf and be visibly Muslim, I really wanted to make sure that people understood that my identities and my place in this society is not a threat to anyone.
32-year-old Ilhan Omar, born in Somalia and raised in a refugee camp in Kenya, is as confident as she is unapologetic.
Being unapologetic about being Muslim, being black, being an immigrant and refugee.
All qualities that make it seem she would be the least electable candidate in a campaign for the Minnesota House of Representatives, says University of Minnesota professor Lawrence Jacobs.
From afar, Ilhan Omar had everything going against her. She was a Muslim in a state that's predominantly Christian. She's black in a state that is among the whitest states in the country. She was a woman, where women are not well represented in the legislature. She was an immigrant in a state that doesn't have a lot of immigrants. Every one of those things could have been held up as a barrier.
But for Ilhan Omar, those potential barriers became the core of her appeal to voters. It helped that Omar announced her candidacy in a very liberal district in Minneapolis, held by longtime legislator Phyllis Khan. It became a three-way race between Khan, Omar, and another Somali-American immigrant, Mohammed Noor, for the Democratic nomination for the seat. In the Somali community in Minnesota, choosing between Omar, a woman, and Noor, a man, became the central choice for many voters.
Coming from a community that usually sees leadership as a man's role, that played a huge part in creating a lot of difficulties.
So Omar decided to reach outside the diaspora for support, focusing on the large number of college students who live in the district, like Patrick English.
We align in a lot of ways and care about the same things.
English not only voted for Omar in the primary election, he joined her campaign and started to spread the word among other college students in the district. Her personal biography and identity was a selling point for voters looking for change.
Any sort of identity that's not your most privileged identity for a progressive voter, definitely will help.
Omar's outreach worked. She won the primary election. But when the results were sorted, it turned out Ilhan Omar did not win the Somali vote. That went to Mohammed Noor.
Yes, we did.
But she still had enough votes to edge out her challengers, thanks in large part to the student voters like English she courted.
And now we're going to get more people like Ilhan in seats.
There is still one more election Omar needs to win, the general election November 8th. But she's likely to carry the day, since there's no Republican challenger currently in the race. After that final outcome, if the moment comes for Ilhan Omar to walk through the doors of the Minnesota State Capitol during the next session, she will make history in the United States as the first female Muslim-American immigrant lawmaker in the country.
The weight of it, I think it's huge.
It is a remarkable journey for a woman who very clearly remembers the fight to survive as a child.
The little girl in that refugee camp, 22 years ago, was very much interested in survival, in the day-to-day. I don't think she could dream about this grand dream and plan. The adult in me still thinks about the day-to-day and surviving today.
Surviving today to provide others who may follow in her footsteps tomorrow with a role model.
That little girl, the opportunities she didn't have, and a lot of the little girls in the world that don't have opportunities, and a lot of the little girls here who don't have the opportunities will always stay with me. It is what drives me to continue to work in politics.
In this program, we've only been able to provide a snapshot of those Muslim Americans seeking to become more involved in government. But there are many more who are trying to make a difference in their communities, one election at a time. But win or lose, each candidate's campaign opens the door a little further for those who will follow in election cycles to come. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kane Farabaugh.